What's up everybody, welcome back to the vlog. So it is tournament day. It's still pretty early in the morning. It's about 9:15. I already got some breakfast, so I'm going to head down to the bowling alley and watch the first squad and just kind of see how the lanes are playing. Some video of some shots of the other players, and we'll kind of see how the lanes are breaking down. It is an 8-game qualifier today, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens to this pattern, you know, games 6 through 8. We're getting ready to bowl the first squad, or I shouldn't say the first squad, I should say the 1 o'clock squad. That's my squad. You know, I did watch the first squad for a while, and it was very low as far as the scoring pace. The cut line I think was like minus 170, somewhere around there, so not a lot of high scores going on. There was one guy that led the squad. He came in at minus 22, and he was the only guy playing outside. The first squad didn't have very many players signed up. There was only 2 per pair. So not a lot of people playing, which means the pattern didn't break down. You know, he was an older guy with a lower rev rate, but he was pretty consistent. He was basically throwing right to left, you know, jamming it right into the pocket. And so it worked for him. I practiced yesterday, tried to do that. It didn't work for me, so I'm going to stick with my game plan. We're going to start with the show me the money, and 13 at the break point, 13, 14 at the arrows, and yeah, we'll get warm-ups going and we'll see what we can make happen. You know, we have, I believe, like 30 people signed up for this particular squad, so the pattern's going to break down quite a bit more than the first squad. So yeah, that's if everybody shows up. We have 30 people, so hoping to see a little bit more transition, and maybe that'll open up the inside shot and make it a little bit easier to miss right. But yeah, anyway, we'll see what happens. Well, that was a grind, to say the least. So, you know, the tournament went really well. I bowled really well, honestly. You know, I changed my strategy a little bit. You know, I went with surface actually in the beginning, and it turns out the pattern that we were bowling on was really flat. And even though it played kind of like 45 feet, it was actually 41 feet, it turns out, which kind of threw me for a loop. I wasn't expecting that, but you know, in the beginning, I started off with my Show Me the Money asymmetric solid. I had it at 2000 grit true cut, and it was very consistent for me. You know, I was able to get it into the pocket strong and carry several strikes. I started out with a 189, and now you might think that's a bad score, but the cut was minus 200. So, you know, starting with 189, I was ecstatic about. You know, I was basically trying to stay outside as long as possible and basically go to my A game. My A game is straighter angles up the outside part of the lane. I do really well at that, and I'm usually pretty consistent at it. Game 2 was 205, so I gamed 5 pins. I was feeling pretty good about that. And then, you know, going into Game 3, we made a few errors that I shouldn't have made, you know, stupid errors. You know, I started out with a split in the first frame, obviously had an open frame there, and then I doubled, had a spare, and then missed a single pin spare that I shouldn't have missed. And, you know, the thing that frustrated me during the whole tournament is I was trying to play the safe game when it came to shooting spares. And I think the reason why is because the pattern was so flat. I was kind of nervous about throwing my plastic ball. You know, flat patterns, there's really no miss room at all. And I mean, if we're talking about missing with a reactive ball, it makes a big difference on the way the ball reacts on the lane. So missing with a plastic ball is something you cannot do. So I was, you know, using my reactive equipment to shoot a lot of single pin spares, usually single pin spares that were on the left side of the head pin. You know, if I happen to leave like a 2 pin or a 4 pin or even a 7 pin, I was actually shooting that with my reactive equipment to pick those up. The single pin spare that I missed in the 5th frame of that game, I believe was a pocket 9 pin, and I don't know where my brain was. I think I was too much in my process, and I just grabbed my reactive ball and I figured, yeah, I'll just move a couple boards left, you know, hit the same mark, and, you know, the reactive ball should pick up and go right through the 9 pin. Well, my brain forgot it was a flat pattern, so I moved a couple boards left, hit the same mark, and the ball just hydroplaned the entire way down the lane, missed the 9 pin. So then, of course, I was very frustrated. Now I got up and I struck in the next frame, and then I went 6 out in the 7th frame. You know, I believe the spare I left was a 3, 6, 9, 10, if I'm not mistaken. And I completely missed that trying to pick it up. I tugged it, you know, because I was worried about leaking the ball too far to the right, and it never got back, and I missed that whole spare. And then I finished out with a strike, 8 spare, and then I opened in the 10th frame. So Game 3 was a pretty bad game. You know, after that, I did pretty okay. You know, I went 179, 147, 189, 140, 172. You know, basically every game that I shot below a 180 average was because I was being stupid on my spares. You know, and I put in so much effort in practice picking up spares when I go to practice throughout the week that I just need to have more confidence in myself with my plastic spare ball, I think. Because if you go back and look at my summary, had I just picked up those spares, I would have been in the cut. You know, going into the final 8th game, I was actually in the cut. I believe I was minus 202 pins going into the 8th game, and you know, the cut was minus 200. So I was there. You know, Game 7, I was actually there as well. I was 24th place in Game 7. And I just needed to put together a solid game, you know, basically a game where I didn't lose any pins, but I gained some pins. So, you know, in the last game, I started out with a turkey, and then I lost it. You know, I missed another single pin spare that I should have just used my plastic ball for. And then after that, it was all a mental issue at that point. My brain just wouldn't allow my body to do what it needed to do, and so it was just a bad game, and I basically bowled myself out of the cut. But with that being said, I missed the cut by 30 pins, ended up in 38th place, so you know, I'm extremely happy with the way I bowled. I was consistent. I hit my mark more often than missed my mark. My ball choice selections were really good. You know, I had the proper strategy going in. I guess the only thing that I think I could have done differently is played the lanes a little bit differently. You know, I started with the strategy of, okay, I'm going to stay outside as long as I possibly can. And that worked basically through 3 games. What I should have done is kept trying to pound that outside line. You know, maybe parallel everything in and use the same ball to give me the same look to the pocket. But what I actually tried to do is I tried to move a complete zone left with a stronger pearl ball. Actually, it was my short pin to PAP Fantasy Star that was, you know, it had a rougher surface on it, and that ball was giving me a good look. The only problem is moving left on a flat pattern. I mean, just like when you're playing right, you have to be extremely consistent with hitting your angles and your lines, and you know, I struggled with that, trying to hit that deep inside shot. I was standing like, what was I, standing like 40, throwing, you know, close to 4th arrow, trying not to get the ball right of like 12 or 11 at the break point. And yeah, so the only thing I could have tried maybe is staying on that outside line a lot longer. You know, I do have the equipment in my arsenal that would allow me to do that. You know, I've got my 2 pin down balls, my Big Bro Jacked, and my No Graffiti, and I've also got my Joker Wild, which allows me to stay outside a little bit longer as well. It's just a matter of actually making myself do it, you know. So anyway, a little depressing this weekend, but in the end I bowled well. I'm happy with my performance. You know, made the right ball choices and selections. I made the right moves on the lane. I need to be more confident in myself with my single pin spares and using my plastic ball for all of them essentially, instead of just the ones that I know I can pick up, like the 10 pin and the 6 pin and that stuff. So yeah, anyway, on to next weekend. Next tournament coming up for me is going to be actually in my hometown of Billings, which I'm ecstatic about because I don't have to travel. The Meritage Open, held at Fireside Lanes. So yeah, it should be rather fun. There is a Swiss Trios Friday evening, which is going to give me a chance to get some practice on the pattern with a couple of my buddies. And then Saturday is the tournament. Thanks for watching. Please do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. And don't forget to turn on the notification bell for notifications of my future content. We'll see you guys later.